Everyone, this is your boy Des the King, back yet again with another edition of the King Talk TV podcast. And today I have a special guest, my man Clinton Jordan, military Air Force veteran, owner of CrossFit Bonnie and Clyde, the CrossFit Bonnie and Clyde, and a dear friend of mine. One of the first friends I made since moving to Colorado Springs. And today we're just going to have a conversation about one, military life, and two, real estate. He is an accomplished real estate agent in Colorado, specifically in Colorado Springs. And we're just going to dive through the pros and cons of real estate and other things like that. I know he has a lot of stories to tell and a lot of things to talk about. So when he gets on, I'm going to bring him on. But if you are watching this on YouTube, please consider giving this a like and subscribing. Leave your comments below what you think. If you're watching just live on Instagram, don't be afraid to ask a question. Join into the conversation. I'm sure Clint would love to answer all of your real estate questions. So looks like he's on now. So without further ado, we're going to start the show. Boss man.
Des, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing today?
Living the dream, man. How are you?
Doing well, man. I want to say first, thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to get with me today and to have this conversation. And I appreciate that.
Of course. I appreciate you having me on, man. So let's do this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yeah, man, I gave a brief introduction about who you are and what you do. Air Force veteran. Owner of the CrossFit Bonnie and Clyde located in Colorado Springs, and you're also an accomplished real estate agent. So my first question to you, man, is give a brief story about your military life and what got you introduced into real estate.
Yeah, cool. And sorry for being late. I was trying to log in on my computer, dude, and I'm like, I couldn't find the live thing on the computer, so I'm on my phone, and I totally apologize for that. But
no, I appreciate.
Yeah. So I did 21 years and 10 months in the Air Force as a fireman. Honestly, the transition from the Air Force to being a real estate agent was, I didn't ever want to do that. I thought I was going to do 30 years in the military, retire as E9 and, live the retired life. I was deployed to the country of Jordan as the fire chief. I had been out there for 6 months or so, and they hit me with orders to the country of Guam, which is 5 billion miles away. And my daughter at the time was like 13. So you can't necessarily take your daughter with you to Guam. And my son was like 18. So they're right in these huge transition periods in their life, And for me to accept that, I would have had to go on for like 3 years. So I didn't want to do that. So I immediately turned in my retirement paperwork. Semi freaking out because, like I said, I didn't have any plans, dude. I literally was doing 30 years in the military and, pulling chalks and going to retire somewhere. The military has a thing called TAPS. I think it's still TAPS, it's transition assistance. So when you're getting out, you have to go through this TAPS thing. They teach you how to write resumes and, become a civilian again. I remember I was sitting in there, man. I was just rifling stuff on Facebook, like, hey, I'm about to be jobless. Somebody help me out, hook me up. One of my buddies is in Larkspur, I played Air Force softball with, said, hey, man, go get your real estate license. So then I started thinking about that. And while I was sitting in TAPS, I literally enrolled in real estate class or school. Then I had another fire chief buddy of mine reach out and say, hey, man, we've got an inside sales job that you can do when you get out. So, and then, Lisa, we immediately bought that CrossFit gym. So when I got out of the military, I retired. And a week later, I had my real estate license. We had bought another CrossFit gym, put everything in storage, and then picked up that third job as the fireman sales guy. But and then you kind of know the story on that first year. I did a lot of CrossFit Bonnie and Clyde stuff and not a ton of real estate just because of the amount of time. But we started building those relationships with you guys. You guys are coming to the gym and you see this relationship that, hey, we're all pretty close and personal in there. So the real estate thing to me then really started kicking off because I knew that I had a captive audience, if you will, of people who already trusted me. And that's like the hard part in real estate is really getting a client, finding somebody to trust you. So we already had that relationship in the gym. So once I started getting that up and running, then I went full speed into real estate and then realized really the power in it, you know, the amount of life influence, helping people get their licenses. Like it's infinitely, there's no end to what you can do inside of real estate. There's no cap to get in it. You don't have to have a 10-year career or, you know, or a college education. You don't have to have any of that stuff. You literally pay a couple bucks to get in, take your test, and you're a realtor, man. And the sky's the limit after that.
Wow, I did not know that. So you started Bonnie and Clyde around the same time you started to dip your toes into real estate industry.
100% at the same time, Des, yeah.
Wow. Okay. And you had no initial really interest in real estate at all, really?
No, so we're not educated a lot in the military on like that kind of stuff, right? You get BAH, allowance for housing. You can go buy a home or live in one, whatever you want to do. You just know your PCS. And so during the military career, there's no real, for me anyway, I wish I did. I wish I had known about it, but it was really just doing the military stuff, just being a fireman. It was when I was getting out in that transitions class, literally sitting in there like, I don't know what to do, man. My buddy, who again, I've known him and his wife in the Air Force. She was a medic. He said, hey man, go get your license, dude. You'll be good at it. You're smart. You got to be personable. It's a relationship building thing. And I was like, cool, man, let's do it.
Nice, man. That's a cool story. I did not know that. Okay. And it's going well for you, obviously. And you said, I like what you said. You said the main thing really is trust, getting people to trust you to deal with these type of transactions. Because, you know, it's a big thing, moving and buying a house, selling a house, right?
Yeah, even on like a low level, think about yourself in jiu-jitsu. Like, would you come to me and pay me to coach you? Probably not, because you do a little bit of research. That Clint's never even done anything. It's just, you know, like, why would I go pay this guy?
Right.
So on the scale, like it's a $4, $5, $1 million transaction. So building that trust and building those relationships is a key in real estate. It's the hardest thing to do in it. But once you're there, once you have your spirit, once you have your people, they already know Des. They already know Clint. Then you start working inside of that sphere, right? To me, it's my veterans. So that's where my sphere is, in my gym, right? So I got you guys and I got the veteran people that I serve. So as long as you continue to serve those people, for you it'd be church and, you know, obviously the gym too, and those relationships in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
So yeah, it's that you need to build.
Nice, man. Nice. My next question for you, boss man, what is your definition of real estate?
Yeah, and that's a wide open question, right? It's buying, selling, but ultimately it's wealth building to me. Real estate period is a wealth building system. Whether you're a realtor, whether you're buying, you sell and invest in Airbnb and properties, it's ultimately for us about building wealth. And they're teaching you guys how to do it, right? If I get you to get your life, then it's wealth to me, real estate, 100%.
What was your definition of real estate prior to you getting involved in it?
Yeah, so I was trying to buy. My definition of real estate back then was owning a house, right? I'm like, sweet, man, I know real estate. I bought my first house. And now, and literally that's what it was, right? It was that transaction. It wasn't anything commercial. It wasn't, again, helping you guys get your licenses. Like real estate now, the world of real estate it's infinite, man. There's so much you could do with it. You know, we own our CrossFit gym. And we were coming out of COVID, right? We wanted to expand in our old spot, the place that you came to us first. And remember when you walked in that front door, that there's that other wall with that whole open area space to the right of us.
Right.
So I'd asked the owner guy, and they gave us a loan 100%. Like I didn't have any business background, right? So the initial, yes, you can get the lease on this building was just on nothing, right? So yeah, we trust you, Clint. 3 years later, we've never missed a payment, never did anything. And I remember I was asking the dude, hey, we want to expand, you know, we're growing. And it's right after COVID. And he started asking for like personal financials. He wanted me to pay for build out, like all this nonsense. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that. So real estate now, I'm like, can I just go buy? So we just went and bought our own building, dude. Like, and once you start understanding real estate and the power in it, so we're now out from that umbrella. We now own an 8,000 square foot building that with this new Hero Health project, we're going to blow that thing out too. But that's real estate, right? Now you have the power to do whatever you want inside of your facility instead of some other guy coming in and telling you, hey, you can't paint your walls. So,
got it.
Yeah.
Wow. So so there was a little drama before the breakup from the old building.
Oh yeah, man, those rich people are crazy, dude. So, like, yeah, a little bit, and it's cool because it just forced hand, right? It made me have to make a decision. It made me get in a very uncomfortable state. I had never bought $1 million building before, not ever. So it made me get uncomfortable. It made me look at my bank, my finances, trust Lisa and I to be able to do that and you know, not fold, because that's huge. So his decision just made me make one and put me in an uncomfortable, I want to say uncomfortable because I hadn't done it before.
Right. But at the end of the day, you ended up a wiser person, and now you know even more about what you're doing in this field because of that situation.
Yes, sir. 100% correct. Because you got to dig in and learn it, right? Like now we deal with leases and tenants. And so, yeah, you end up a lot wiser in it. And everything's kind of scary when you first do it. Right? I think Will Smith, he's jumping out of an airplane. I don't know if you
said Will Smith did what?
Yeah. So I think he was on like Oprah Winfrey or something. But he was talking about his story of jumping out of an airplane. Like he had never done it. He was so scared to do it. Right? Like the night before he stayed up and all this other nonsense. And he said, like, on the other side of fear is something great, you know? And then in his head, it's like, why was I scared to jump? You know, nothing could possibly happen from the moment, like all the day leading up to it, he was scared to death. And he was letting that fear, you know, take control of him. And he said, but once you get past that, on the other side of fear, man, Google it. Just Google Will Smith on the other side of fear speech. It's like 2 minutes. Because on the other side of fear is like greatness. It's like everything that we want is right past that point where we're like, I can't do that. You can, dude. Just do it. And then when you do, you're like, holy smokes, man, that wasn't so terrible.
I can definitely relate to that, especially transitioning from, you know, doing CrossFit all the time with you into a combat sport like jiu-jitsu. You know, I'm nervous, but, you know, once you do it, man, you're like, wow, it's really nothing.
Yeah,
so
first time you lay on the mat, you're like, this is great. Like I remember the first time I walked in, well, the first time I didn't walk into a CrossFit gym, I'm a fireman forever, right? I played all the sports in the world, very athletic. I had PCS or moved out here to Colorado Springs, and I pulled up to the first CrossFit, and I've never really like been a part of a CrossFit gym. I've done it in the military. I pull up and I'm fit. And I remember I looked through the gym had like glass windows so you could see in it. And I pulled into the parking lot, dude, and I'm like everybody looked ripped and shredded, and I was like, I'm not doing that, man. I left.
Oh, wow.
I left, bro, right? So I took off. I went home, and I'm like, what is wrong with you, dude, right? I'm beating myself up. I'm like, what? Why were you so scared to walk through that door? Why were you so scared to open the dang door, dude? Because it's that other side of fear, right? So I went the next day to a different CrossFit gym. I didn't have open glass doors, but like my head was just go through the door, Clint. Just open that door because then you're good, right? For you, just go there. Go to jiu-jitsu. Lay on the ground and let somebody start pummeling and do that for a minute, because then on the other side of that is greatness. It's where you want to be.
Nice, man. Nice. Thank you for sharing that, boss. Okay, so Air Force veteran, real estate agent. In your view, do the principles of the discipline and order from the Air Force translate into managing real estate portfolios or understanding market dynamics? So how did your military background help you with this transition, if anything?
No, and it did, man. And that's easy. I think if you know any military person or ones that are serious, they're very structured in a sense for the most part, right? We know what time we're getting up. We know what uniform we're wearing. We know what 8 o'clock we got roll call. Like we know all that stuff. So if you take that and you transition it into this or the gym or whatever, you take that structure, and then that real estate in and of its own, if you don't know what you're doing, you have no structure, it's going to be really hard for you. There's a lot of time throughout the day when there's nothing to do. So then the question is, what are you going to do when there's nothing to do? Most realtors don't know because they don't have a structure. They're not hyper disciplined like a military guy or gal may be. That discipline allows you to focus and then plan out your day and say, all right, cool, from 8 to 9, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do that. So yeah, the discipline of the military is strictly the structure, which helps to structure the day then. Because again, in real estate, you're not busy all the time. It should be, but oftentimes we don't know what to do. You know what I mean? You can only make so many calls, and then what do I do? Like today, after we get off this call, we're going out to Peyton. We're going to take one of our old cars out there, and the Soaring Eagles Foundation is it's a father and son. The father's a little bit older. The son is a cadet pilot teacher out at the academy. So they're out in Peyton. They've got a hangar. They're doing this big hangar party, bringing in a bunch of disabled vets and all this other stuff. So like that's our structure, right? So that discipline says, hey, it's Sunday, and cool. What people are relaxing. There's things for us to go do. There's people for us to help. There's stuff for us to affect. So we'll finish this thing up and we'll hit the road here at 1 o'clock and go spend 3-4 hours out there with a bunch of veterans, networking and helping them.
Is that one of the would you say the top challenge of an agent, just finding what to do in that middle time, after the calls are done, after you did your follow-ups, the idle time? Is that your biggest challenge?
100%. So the biggest challenge in real estate, one, is finding a client to trust you, right? And we talked about that earlier. Like, you wouldn't just go to a normal BJJ coach, somebody that you saw on the street without Googling and saying, hey. So that's it. But then it's finding them, right? Because your sphere is only so big. You're going to call your 22 people. You get your real estate license in a month, Des, and you're like, cool, man, what do I do? I'm like, call everybody you know. You're going to call and be done with that in 3 days. You're like, hey, boss, I called everybody. I'm like, cool, man. Now we got to dig in and start finding your passion, your fires, the things that light you up. And then we start putting you in those elements. And then you're telling everybody, hey, man, how can I help you? Right? Because it's always about from the side of give, right? I'm going to give and give and give. We'll go out there and we've got these, Lisa, she made these cool little peanuts because they took peanuts off of airplanes. So she got these bag of peanuts with our cards in it. And we'll go out there and support them. So yeah, the hard part about it is finding what to do, because if you have time real estate, right, you're like, hey, man, I'll go get another job or something. It's tough. If you can plug in stuff to do in those times that are free, find those things that you do. Find the jiu-jitsu tournaments. Find where your church is. Find what those people are doing. And you fill an 8-hour day with real estate, like, you're going to be successful. You bear the fruit of that labor, right? Just people don't know what to do on these other times. So they take long lunches, or they don't make calls in the morning, or they're not, they don't give cards out, like none of that stuff. So yeah, that is the hardest part about being a realtor, I think, is literally putting yourself out there and making it your full-time job.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Very useful. Okay. We have different types of real estate, residential, industrial. There's other ones I can't think of off the top of my head now, but what real estate classification do you primarily work in?
Yeah, so we're residential, that I own part of KW Broadmoor. So in our office, we do everything, right? There's a commercial, industrial guy and gal in there, husband-wife team. We do land. If it's a huge land deal, like, I wouldn't feel personally comfortable doing it. We have land specialists in our office, but like Lisa and I, or my team, is residential. And I could dabble in commercial, like I did our building. Commercial is a whole lot different, because like an office space, you got to know leases, you got to deal with all the leases, so I don't mess with that either. That's not in our wheelhouse. I don't want to steer anybody wrong. And then there's property management side of stuff too. We don't do that yet, but Tyler and Kate, Tyler's coming on the team, and that's his passion, is to do property management. So I'm like, cool, man, I'll help mentor him, and then we'll have a property management leg in the office.
Nice. I've been thinking about the appraisal, being an appraisal, and valuing homes and determining how much it would, cost on the market. I find that part interesting and want to look in more into that with you, later. But okay, which one do you think is the toughest one out of the different classifications? Commercial, probably.
Probably commercial, because there's so many variables in it. I mean, you could be doing the 24-hour fitness where, it's one building, one office. You could do, I don't look at any strip mall, like, that's commercial, dude. Those are 100 and 200 individual leases inside of there that you got to negotiate. And so definitely commercial is more robust, for sure.
Got it. Awesome, man. Cool. Another question for you, man. How do you help your clients understand the value of location? And did your time in the Air Force perhaps move into different places and traveling a whole lot? How did that affect your understanding of this concept?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. So the Air Force and most military bases are normally strategically placed in the worst parts of the town. And I don't mean that. I mean that in the sense that land was cheapest there. So when you go to look at a Fort Benning or Fort wherever, or here we're lucky because it's in the Springs, right? So you can't really look at Colorado Springs in that sense. But like my last base was Beale Air Force Base. It sits out in the middle of Yuba County, California. Not a bad spot, but the land was cheapest there. Right. So we learn kind of what all that stuff looks like in the military because we do bounce. I PCS 6 times, I believe. Um, and then with you guys, it's in the hard part too is in the real estate. Like I can't steer you in or out of a community, right? That's illegal. You'll hear about it when you're going through the school. It's literally called steering. I can, tell you, hey man, this area is a little bit better. Here in the town, it's easy to pick apart what neighborhoods are I guess more affluent, if you will, or a better neighborhood, strictly by just driving through them. It's easy enough to drive through, without calling out any neighborhoods.
Right.
Now, yeah.
Just look around and see.
Even going through town, like if you go down Powers, dude, and you hit like up past Constitution, you start going Barnes, Stetson, Research. Like you could tell the level of home changes. Like it's literally a $10,000 jump every time you go, another street north.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
It's nuts. And then look at it going south. It's almost the same thing, dude. The level, because they started building here first. So these are all the older homes, security and whatever. And then as they're building out, going into the new areas, the price ranges just continue to go up. So it's kind of easy to see where they're going and where the cheaper houses are gonna be based off of where the majority of everything is. Like security, if you go down in that area, there's just nothing there, right? Amazon built, but they built that community a while back and there's nothing to it. And then they put Colorado Springs and now they're building all this stuff, like I said, heading north. So all of those houses have the lifestyle, fitness, and all that other big stuff. So with that comes higher priced homes.
And like you said earlier, it's illegal to steer people which direction to go. Like they have to, you show them an area and then they pretty much make their decision on if this is what they want on their own.
Correct. There's fair housing laws and stuff, so I can't,
right.
Use a black or white neighborhood. Like, hey man, you might be better off, it's less or more this or the crime. You can't even do crime. Like I can't even say, hey, this neighborhood. I can tell you that you may want to Google stuff and do your due diligence, right? Look into it. But yeah, so steering in a sense, like I just got to know what you want. We start putting things in. You tell me, hey, I want to be in this, kind of near on the zip code or the school district or whatever. Then we can start building kind of the search criteria on our side. But for me to just be like, hey man, tell me where you want to live, and you're like, hey, I want to live by, a bunch of whatever you want. I can't steer you into that neighborhood, and I can't steer you to that. Yeah.
Got it. A whole lot of little laws like that you got to know about, right, before you start.
There's a ton of things. Yeah. And a lot of it's like from your heart, right? Like if I got a young military, or you guys, let's say you and Charlton came in and say, hey, bro, we want to get a house. What's a good neighborhood? Like I could get in trouble if I say, hey, man, stay away from, this area here, this area here. Like it's not legal for me to say that. I can tell you, hey, man, do some research on these areas. There's certain ways to do it, but yeah, you got to be kind of careful, man. There's a lot of the Fair Housing Act and all that stuff is a lot of laws in there. They're good, right? It's so that you can't discriminate, you can't do any of this other stuff, but it stinks in that aspect too, where I would literally just want to tell you, Des, don't move on that road. No business being on that road.
Yeah. It's not like you're trying to be, not nefarious or anything like that. You're generally concerned about your client. You don't want them to get hurt or whatever. I got you. Okay, so next question. Got a few more for you, boss.
Yeah, sure.
From your experience, do you find veterans have particular needs or concerns when it comes to forms of property ownership like condominiums, cooperatives, and how do you address those issues that they have?
Yeah, they don't necessarily. So on the condominiums and stuff like the VA, the Veterans Affairs, one of the benefits of being in the military is you get a VA loan, right? No money down. On the condos in particular, the VA doesn't lend to them oftentimes. There's like 2 or 3 condos in town, just because of the way they're set up. The condominiums themselves can reach out to the VA and ask to be put on their approved list. But like here in the Springs, we don't have a lot. So condos are a no-go, except for a couple locations in the Springs. Townhomes are cool. But our veterans, most of their things are timelines, right? We don't have the time to look around like they're in a hotel for 3 weeks. So it's a bit different than if you guys come in, like I said, the military spouse or husband or wife, whoever's in the military is trying to in process while the other one's trying to find a home. So it's really about the timeline for us. Like And that realtor's got to kind of know, hey man, I don't have time to mess around. Like if it's 8 o'clock at night, then let's go. If it's a Sunday, then let's go, because these guys don't have another week, right? They're in, like I said, they're in a hotel paying ridiculous amounts of money until we find them a home. So their main thing, not so much, house. And we look always, the benefit of having a really good realtor and somebody who understands that too is it's on the flip side of that. Like when you leave, because you're gonna, right? You are PCSing out of here. So one, like I want to make sure that you got a good house. Two, we want to make sure that's in a decent enough area. Three, sorry about that, people. Okay. Yeah. And then three, we want to look resale, right? We want to make sure that when they're PCSing out of here, that we can turn around and sell that property. So it's hard to educate the military dude too, right? Because you're like, man, I want my forever home and I'm spending $400,000. And I'm like, I get it, dude. But look, there's no other houses out there. We have to get you out of that hotel. And this house is going to sell for a lot more money in 3 years. So like, trust me on that, right? So that trust factor is enormous, because you don't really know me other than we're both veterans, unless you're at the gym. But otherwise, it's that. So it's really those things for our veterans that are a little bit different than the normal client.
If you had to pick between a regular client or a veteran, who do you have a better time dealing with? Would it be the regular client?
It'd be I don't know, man, because I don't know. I understand the veteran. Like, I understand us. I had 22 years, you know what I mean? It's normally straightforward conversations. I had to relearn, like, how to, just people, right? I had to relearn how to have conversations with people, because military, the structure dictates how you're having a conversation, kind of. If you outrank me, right? And I'm like, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sergeant, or whatever you are, then the structure of it kind of dictates how our conversations happen. In real estate, it's totally different. You could be 19-year-old dude that works at 7-Eleven, right? And I'm like, hey, Dez, and you're like, listen, man. And I'm like, dude, don't listen, man, me. Like, you don't know who I am, right? Like, it was hard to start understanding that and relearning how to really have those conversations, and that aren't so structured. So for me personally, I think the veterans, they're harder to work, because of their timelines. Easier for me to communicate with them.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's see. Okay. So from my understanding, the Air Force teaches, or the military in general teaches, strategic thinking and long-term planning. How do these skills apply when advising clients on real estate interests and future planning for their properties? And I know you deal with different types. You deal with veterans and civilians. So just in general, how does long-term planning, and how do you get that out to your clients?
I love it. And almost go back to the question I just answered, because we know, one, the military is paying their money, or paying their BH, or allowance for housing. Two, we know that they're PCS. And so if we sit down and have that conversation initially, you're like, man, I really want to buy a home. I'm like, cool, for what? Like, what is your, like, well, man, I want security. I'm like, awesome. And then what about in 3 years when you're leaving? Well, I don't know, man. I'm like, well, cool, because now we can talk rental or sale, right? So then we can sit down and just start talking that long-term strategic thing. Like, as a 23, let's say that we, landlord and renting isn't in your plans just yet. Well, cool. Then let's buy in a good spot where we know that you could turn around here in 3 years and make 40, 50 grand, go to your next place, split that and buy 2 properties, right? And then now those guys start building generational wealth. Like, that's the wealth thing at the very beginning. Real estate, what is real estate to me? It's wealth. And then it transitions into that. Like, how do we strategically help you plan, instead of just buying a home, closing on it, and then being like, cool. There's so much more to that, right? Like, in 5 years, what are you guys going to do with it?
So it just kind of depends on who you're talking to, really,
100%.
About how you got it.
It's you guys, right? It's your goals. Like, I would just sit down with you and be like, man, certainly I could help, any part of that conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
But some people are forever, use Kate that was forever home. So that strategic long-term plan was different. We went into getting that house to them in a totally different kind of aspect. Like, we knew that they needed it, and we knew that they were going to stay in it forever. Where the military
got it
now in a couple of years, so we just want to make sure that we know what they're planning to do, what they want to do in their future, and then we help them kind of transition into that.
Nice. Makes sense. Thank you for that. Next one. how do you leverage your experience as an Air Force veteran in marketing yourself as a real estate agent?
Yeah, it's a good question too, man. So, like everybody in town markets that they're either a veteran, no veteran, or took a veteran class, or we love to help veterans. Like you're in the town of, we got 5 bases and 100,000 military here, 100,000 veterans. So it's tough to differentiate and market yourself on a grander scale. The way that I've done it from day one is, for 6 years now, everything's been, my team is 719 Veterans Home Team. Our gym is our connections. We just signed an MOU with Mount Carmel. So everything that we've ever done has been veteran centric, like it's focused on the veterans. So I've always just marketed that. And it's not, you see, it's not everything that we do. So for me, it's just hyper focused on, if you Google right now, veteran realtor in Colorado Springs, I'm the #1 guy that pops up. And I'm not saying that to brag or boast. I'm saying that because of 5 years of constantly 719 Veterans Home Team, the Veterans Home Team, or veteran this or veteran that. That's 5.5, 6 years of continually marketing and doing the same thing over and over, right? Like it's a system.
Got it. So to put it shortly, the military really teach you nothing about marketing yourself. It's something you had to trial and error on your own, right?
Yeah, we've totally built the gym and my real estate career off of Clint trial and error and how to do any of it. You remember back in the old days, man, like I was live with the gym every day. Like I don't know how to market that stuff. Again, you got to do it though, right? You want to do it on the other side of fear. Like just because you don't know something doesn't mean, like no's not the answer to that, right? Like go learn it. Do it better than somebody else. Harder. Like work harder. Give what people know what you're doing in marketing stuff and be like, Dez, what's all the live stuff that you're doing?
Yeah.
Like that know thing. You don't have to know everything. It's not the key.
That is key. And real quick, that's one of my weaknesses. I try to learn everything, and that's not how we're built. We're built to work with other people. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
you do something better than me.
Yeah, your circle becomes very important, right? Like Henry Ford, he told everybody he didn't know everything. He just had to have people around him that knew things.
Yeah.
You don't have to know how to make a car. You need to learn how to, the process of bringing the right people in that can make a car, right? And at the end of the day, you're Henry Ford. You're the main guy that built all these cars in the world, but it was your team that did. Like he had buttons to press. He had people.
Yes.
For us, when you start out as an entrepreneur, you're building. Like it's you, man. You don't have the money to do anything. You don't have, and you think, hey, sweat equity in my time is my value, right? So you press and press, and then you start kind of transitioning where you're like, all right, cool, man. Now my time is more valuable, so I could bring in somebody to do this, right? Then you just start buying back your time, little bits and pieces, and pulling people in that are better than you at it anyways. That they're going to do a better job than you're doing anyway. So pay them a little bit, let them do it. And then
yes,
your time, yeah.
Absolutely. Couple more for you, boss man. Can you share your worst experience as a real estate agent? And I know you had a little drama leaving the old place to our new place, but is there any other story? You don't have to disclose every detail, but just in general, what's something that happened that you kind of like, oh, that was pretty bad?
Yeah. So in real estate, like the worst thing that possibly happen is you get right up to closing and then it falls apart, right? And something happens. The worst one was a young military couple. We'd tried to get them there a couple times, but the lender ultimately, the lender's responsible once you get to closing, man. They run all your numbers, do all your stuff. If they didn't do their due diligence in the beginning and then they find something at the end that kills that deal, like that's brutal, dude. Like let's say that you're a young military husband, wife, and family, and you guys are living in a hotel for the last month and a half, and we're under contract, and you use some random big business lender. I don't know if I could say out just for the sake of saying like a Rocket Mortgage. Somebody's just huge, right? And I'm not dogging Rocket Mortgage. Is the first thing that came into my mind. But like them, they're so big, you're never working with the same lender person, right? If you use a local lender, typically it's one guy, and they can help you through the whole process. But if something comes up at the end, man, like I've had it happen twice where the deal just falls apart. and there's nothing you could do. And again, you're looking at me like Clint, and I'm like, look, Des, I told you guys to go with a local, like, go with somebody we know, man, a lender. You wanted to save a point or, 0.0% on your interest rate. So you went with somebody that I didn't know and trusted, and now we're here. Like, oftentimes the cheapest rate comes at a price, right? So just because that rate's a little bit cheaper, there's a price behind that. The service sometimes isn't as good, right? That's with everything's everywhere. You go find the cheapest thing in anything, and I guarantee you their quality's not the best. So same thing on that lending side, man. And it's just brutal because there's zero that we could do on our end at that point. I'm just like, hey, man, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, you want to cry? Like, there's nothing you can do. You guys go back in a hotel. We'll find another house. That's another month at a hotel paying, crazy rates. And yeah, so that stinks. Whenever anything bad happens like that, that's the worst part of real estate. Because there's always problems. There's issues you can get through them. But something like that, you're just like, because it's totally out of your hands. You've advised them maybe to do something different, and they didn't take your advice, and now you're sitting there going, man, like, dang it, that part stinks. And it's only happened twice.
Only happened twice to you your whole career?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I would imagine that being really.
We've missed and pushed a lot of closings, and that happens where we could fix whatever they found, right? So they can maybe say, hey, Des was divorced or he had this credit thing, and we could try to fix it and push closing a little bit. But yeah, only twice where it totally just dumped, man. And I'm like, oh, that was bad.
Sucks.
Yeah,
that does suck. To go through that whole process to get to the moment to close, and then it falls apart. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Brutal.
That's pretty bad. Thank you for sharing that, boss. And two more questions for you, man. As a veteran and real estate agent, what advice would you give other veterans looking to buy or sell their homes?
Yeah, I would say to interview your agent. Like, I think that's probably the most important thing. Get on a call with them, get on a Zoom, find out if they are in fact a veteran, and then how many deals they've done. Because there's a certification called MRP, Military Relocation Professional Certification. You sit in a class for like 4 hours, you could take it, and then all of a sudden you're a military relocation professional. You're like, I didn't know anything about military. But now I got the cert, and then you promote it, right? And now you want to help a veteran. And cool, I don't mind people helping veterans. But as a veteran, to another veteran, I'm like, look, if you're looking to buy and sell real estate, number one, make some phone calls. Get on the phone with Clint. Get on the phone with Des, who on his website said, veteran MRP guy. And then ask him that question, how long did you serve? Oh, I didn't serve. No, I sat in that class. I'm like, oh, so you're not even a veteran? No. Cool. And then ask the same question next. How long did you serve? Oh, I did 4 years. Oh, awesome, man. How many times did you PCS to use your VA loan and stuff? I didn't. I got out after 4. Oh, so you never even moved? So you don't know what the process, right? So dig down until you're comfortable with that person that you're working with. And then how many deals have you done? National Association of Realtors came out with a study not too long ago. It says, one, there's like 63,000 agents in the last quarter had left the business. But 90% of realtors do between 1 and 4 transactions a year. 90% of people doing this job do 1 and 4. If your doctor did 1 knee replacement a year, would you? If your jiu-jitsu guy coached 1 class, that's not good. So ask them that question, right? There's that trust stuff too. So like, how long did you serve? How long did you serve? How many times you PCS? Have you ever used your VA loan so you know what the process is like? How many deals have you done? Like, tell me, because there's 5,000 realtors in town. So ask the question to them. Like, dig deep. They're responsible for your future, and that is that real estate transaction. So ask them the questions.
And even just in general, for anybody, right? Ask those questions.
Yeah, and ask the same questions. How many deals have you done? How many moves have you made? Like, because it's important to know that process too, right? Like, yeah, I've moved 7 times, man. I get it. I know what happens. So ask those same questions, whether you're a veteran or not, because everybody can pay for advertising, right? We can all market ourselves and pay for stuff to say we are something that we're not. When I first started in real estate, dude, this is no kidding. I had a marketing guy who put me on buses, billboards, and bus benches virtually, right? I didn't sell the house yet, dude. I virtually was on buses. I had people in California calling me like, bro, you are blowing up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm killing it out here in the Springs, dude. No, right? It's good marketing. But had you called me and asked me, Hey man, great, dude. I saw you all over those buses on the ads and stuff, man. So how long you been doing it? 4 months?
Well,
4 months already on a bus. How many deals have you done? Well, I haven't, but like my team, right? Like, so if you ask those questions, you could dig down and you'll find it. And the way you beat that, and as a newer agent, is work your sphere with the people who trust you, right? You'll join my team and we'll market the heck out of all that stuff. And you'll be able to use and leverage the team. But heck, my team's number one, or, you know, we did 20 million in whatever, and that's really good. And then for you, we teach you how to market your sphere. So you start working with those people who trust you because they don't care about your numbers so much. Family do. Like, family's the worst, man. They'll never use you. And you'll be like, why didn't you use me as your realtor? But another story. But your sphere, those people already have some trust in you, right? So they're not super concerned about your numbers. They're concerned about helping you kind of win in life, or at least they should be. So those are where you start getting your numbers and getting your experience, while we try to market this way and say, all right, cool, how do we get Dez out in front of people?
cool, man. That is great stuff. I can't wait to talk more with you about that off camera, man. But that's great. Great stuff, man. Thank you, boss man, for all this information that you gave. This last question I ask all my guests on my show is, do they have any question for me before we go?
I don't have any questions, man. I just got one comment. Like, I've known you for, I think, 5 years now.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did, like, everything you do in Dez in life. Like, I appreciate you as a person. Appreciate your positivity that you bring into life. And we miss that, I think, a lot in our community these days. So I appreciate you, dude, for all you do. And then anytime you ever need me, you know, I'm here for you. But thanks for what you do, man. Again, that positive light, dude, isn't it's something that shines too bright too often anymore. So I appreciate you always being that guy for us.
Hey, man. Thank you, man. I'm so happy to have met you. I tell you all the time, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be where I am now, man, and doing what I do now. So thank you and your wife, Lisa, for accepting me and my brother into your lives as family from day one. And we haven't missed a beat yet, and hopefully never in the future, man. So thank you for that. Before we log off, man, how can people get in contact with you? Someone's out there looking to buy a home or just want to talk with you, social media, what you got going on?
Yeah, man. So we have Clint Jordan, veteran realtor on Instagram, I think. I don't know if you could type that stuff in there, Dez. And then my phone number is probably the easiest, 530-844-2559. And then, yeah, I think the Facebook's the same thing, Clint Jordan. Everything's just kind of Clint Jordan, veteran realtor. And again, if anybody's thinking about being a realtor, I said we do a free class for it. Like, get with me. I can certainly set you down the path to that success and kind of wealth building. Ultimately, that's the goal, right? It's like, how do we get ourselves in positions where we don't have to worry about money anymore, where we can help other people, right, grow to help people grow. And the more you make, the more you can do with it, not the more cars you can buy. But like, if I can get you to be a millionaire, can you imagine what you would do with that?
All right.
I mean, I couldn't. The churches, like, holy smokes, man, Dez is killing it, right? We got gyms we're building everywhere for free, and you're like, so if we can get you to that place. So we 100% have free real estate classes that we can put people through. I am free all the time to have conversations with people if they want to, at least, you know, like I said, start the conversation about becoming a realtor, what it looks like. You don't have to be full-time. There's options out there. You can keep your job and just do referrals. Kind of told you guys about that. So there's a lot of revenue streams. There's a lot of options in real estate. So for any of your listeners, dude, you know me, I'm 100% down. We'll throw a class together if there's people who say, hey, Dez, I want in on that. But yeah.
I see my man Fernandez in the comments. He always watches me. Yeah, man, hit me up, bro. We could talk about something, or hit Clint up directly and just tell him that I sent you. Well, he knows now. Well, he says he wants in, so we'll go from there.
Cool.
Boss man, thank you, Bo, for your time, and I hope you and your wife have a great rest of your day. And God bless you, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Dez. I appreciate you, bro.
If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider giving us a like and subscribing. Leave a comment below. Holler at Clint Jordan. Thank you, man. We'll see you later.
Appreciate you, dude.
Bye-bye, man.